The Traveling Nardo is made possible by the Omega Foundation and subscribers like you. Thank you.
Okay, so the laundry is done, the AC is on, lights have been changed. Yeah, I think I did all my chores. Hey! I didn't see any of you there! Hi everybody, it's Dr. Detroit. Wait a second. Hey, can you guys pipe down back there? Thank you. It's Dr. Detroit here, the doctor is in. Hey, I just got done doing some very important chores. You know, chores are something that we all gotta do at some point. And you know what's important is this. So many of them help keep your house clean, tidy, and also battle efficient. You know, stuff like doing the laundry, doing the dishes, vacuuming the carpet, and things like that. It's actually kind of fun to do certain chores. But I do know about the chores that some people don't like. What's your least favorite chore? Ugh, I don't blame you. But there's also some really cool chores that are actually kind of fun, and you can make a game out of them. What kind of games can you make out of some of the chores you do? Uh-oh, I think that's Travel HQ. I think they have another mission for us. Come on, my friend. Let's go up top and see what they need. Go ahead, Travel HQ.
Bonjour, Dr. Detroit. Very happy to see you again.
Hey, Antoine. It's good to see you back at Travel HQ. I guess Travel HQ can't get enough of you, huh?
Ah, c'est magnifique. Back here once again at the Travel HQs. But Travel HQ needs you again, as well as your friend. Are you ready to hear your next mission?
Lay it on us, Antoine. Where are you sending me and my friend to this time?
Très bien. This time around, you are staying here in the United States, and you are going to the beautiful state of Minnesota, where there you will be experiencing the Minneapolis sounds, which were made by the one and only Prince. Oui, you will be going to Minneapolis, Minnesota to trace back Prince's early days, also his time with the Revolution and the New Power Generations. While you're there, you might also want to sample some of his musics. And if you're lucky enough, you might be able to play probably one of his guitars.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. To trace back the history of the Purple One himself, the charismatic dude of the Revolution, the New Power Generation, Prince? I am a huge fan of Prince.
And I happen to be a very big fan of Prince himself too. Even ma chérie Bonnie loves Prince as well. He was a musical genius. And I think it's going to be great for you and your friend to learn about the Purple One. So, You have a good time over there in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
We sure will. Me and my friend will leave for Minneapolis, Minnesota immediately.
This magnifique. Good luck, Nardo Detroit, and have a good time.
We're gonna go to Minneapolis, Minnesota to trace back the history of Prince. Oh my gosh, I have always wanted to go there. And I've always wanted to tell people about the Purple One himself. Prince was not only a musical genius, but he tore up the charts. Almost every one of his hits skyrocketed to P1. And you know what? His music lives on to this day. And this is going to be a very special one because, well, I'm a big fan of his. And, I mean, who isn't a big fan of him? Are you ready to learn about the artist formerly known as Prince? You are? Shoo! Pardon me. I mean, yahoo! Alright then. I'll see you guys in Minneapolis. Now, let me think. Got it. Here's what we'll do. I'll meet you all at Target Field in Minneapolis, Minnesota, home of the Minnesota Twins, because we're going to start our story over there. Even though Prince wasn't really directly involved with baseball, you'll see why we're starting there in a few seconds. We're standing here at Target Field, home of the Minnesota Twins, but we're not talking about baseball, at least not this time. No. Minneapolis, Minnesota. This was the birthplace of Prince. Born Prince Rogers Nelson, Prince had an interesting upbringing when he was just knee-high to a jackhammer. He was involved in music from the very start, probably because of the fact that his father John was somebody who was involved in music for all of his time. In fact, he was a jazz musician at one time. When Prince got older and got into high school and his college years, he started to form his own band, his first one being called 94 East. What you're hearing right now is one of the songs called If You See Me, which became the first song that the band would end up playing. Like a sponge, Prince learned fast. In fact, he actually learned faster making music than he did in school. Later down the road, he decided to start making albums. So, he ended up going into his first record label. And it took a while to convince the record company that, hey, I can do everything. Because you know what? Prince not only could play the guitar, he could do the drums, he could do the bass, he could do everything. Even produce the album. So, the record studio decided to take a chance on this young talent. So out came For You in 1978. The album didn't really chart very well, only peaking at number 38 here in the United States. But it did introduce everybody to this new soul-like sound. And pretty soon, Prince found his footing. With the songs like Soft and Wet and others, he slowly began to work on his image. His next album that he would release would come out later in 1979, but this one would be a self-titled album, which would further introduce Prince to the entire world. Now, he was going to have his first ever #1 single, and that'd be the song I Want to Be Your Lover. His high falsetto voice really caught the attention of many people, fans, as well as also some unmentionables as well. And it also began a little rivalry with some other people, because there was another high falsetto singing singer that was actually on the charts. Can you guess who it is? If you said Michael Jackson, You're right. Because Michael Jackson and Prince were both making music at the same time. However, the two of them had two totally different sounds to them. See, Michael Jackson on this hand, his songs were more radio friendly, with stuff like Baby Mine, Thriller, let's see, Rock With You, and even a lot of his Jackson 5 stuff. Prince's songs, on the other hand, had a lot of sexual connotation to them. In fact, most of the songs we actually cannot play here on this show. So after his self-titled album, Prince's music soon caught the attention of a ton of different musicians, including Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones. So much so that when the Rolling Stones were getting ready to go on tour to celebrate as well as also help push the release of their 1981 album Tattoo You, they decided to have Prince and his backing band open for them. So, in 1981, at the LA Coliseum, which is located down in LA, which is smaller than this venue, but you get the idea, Prince and his band opened for the Stones. But, let's just say that the fans didn't really warm up to them. They started booing him, primarily because it was the wrong type of music, and not only that too, but his clothes were a little suggestive. Prince at the time decided to go out on stage in bikini underwear and a trench coat. Yeah, that was basically his choice of outfit. The crew only were able to do a few songs before he was unceremoniously booed off stage. However, Mick Jagger told him, no, come back and do the second night, because they were scheduled for 2 nights. Prince did. And interestingly enough, he ended with one of his new songs called Why You Wanna Treat Me So Bad. That particular thing didn't deter Prince very much. Instead, it actually made him want to push that image just a little bit more. With a tour under his belt, Prince went back into the recording studio to record the album Dirty Mind. This album, my god, this album broke him into the charts a little bit more, but it also introduced everybody to his sexual side of his mind, with such songs such as the title track, Dirty Mind, which you're hearing right now, his party anthem, which he would do on Saturday Night Live, called Party Up, and another song called Head, which, due to the fact that the lyrical connotation does not line up with this particular episode, we are not going to play that. But it also did something else, too. Dirty Mind also introduced everybody to Prince's backing band. However, the backing band would not get credit until a little later album, which we'll get to that in a second. After the release of the album Dirty Mind, the press were hounding. They were furious at Prince. In fact, the press was basically in 2 different sides. You had one side that was saying that, he's a hot new thing, the music is fantastic, oh my goodness, this is the first ever provocative singer who is not, ashamed to talk about his sexuality and everything like that. And then you have the other side over here, which we'll just say the other side, that really didn't like the fact that he was literally showing his butt without literally showing his butt. Also, the press really went hard on him, because here was the thing. He was singing in a very high falsetto voice, similar to Michael Jackson, which led people to think, wait, who is this? Who is this guy? Who is this derogatory term that is bouncing on my screen, showing part of his ass? Is he white? Is he black? Is he straight? Gay? That's where Prince decided, you know what? I'm going to take those headlines and make them into a song. Hence the album controversy came out. In 1982, no, excuse me, 1981. Let's stay on track here, people. In 1981, Controversy was released, and he decided to make the song, which is the title of the song of the same name, and use these words that you're about to see on screen. So, he used those, and he now had a slightly different look. He had a little bit more of like this black ascot that he tied around his neck, and he also had some other songs like Sexuality, and a few others to kind of feel the fire. But then, in 1982, Prince would then release the first of many of his big albums. And it would also introduce everybody to his new backing band. Now, I say, let's go ahead and leave the stadium, and let's go to another area. Probably a nightclub. Because you know what? As the 80s would continue, Prince's image would change, and pretty soon, we'd all be dancing, and singing, and laughing in specially colored rain. We've come backstage to a nightclub hidden somewhere deep here in Minneapolis to go to the next part of our little look back at Prince. Now the interesting thing is this: not very many places here on VR Chat even emulate anything that Prince did, so we're actually using a different world to kind of help out. Now, in 1982, Prince finally decided to get his band out there, and he decided to release the next big album for himself. Enter Prince and Revolution, releasing 1999 in 1982. Now, this album was actually quite interesting because at the time, 1989 was seen as sort of the end of the world, like when we like this nuclear fallout and stuff. However, this album in particular brought out a lot of Prince's biggest and earliest hits. Stuff from the title track, 1999, which you're hearing right now, to Little Red Corvette, to the bouncy yet cool Delirious, and one of my personal favorites, Let's Pretend We're Married. Now, Prince had introduced the Revolution. The Revolution was made up of these 5 members. They were made up of Wendy and Lisa, Wendy Melvoin and Lisa Coleman. These two provided the female voices, the female backing voices, as well as the keyboards and guitars. They would actually play a pivotal role in the next album, but we'll get to that in a sec. Dr. Fink, who was the keyboardist, who laid down those beautiful keyboard tracks. Bobby Z, who kept everybody in line with his drum work. And Brown Mark, or Mark Brown. However, Prince liked to mix up the names, so he got nicknamed Brown Mark. He was the bass player, and he was the one that could lay down the sound. All 5 of these, matched up with Prince, were a well-oiled machine, because Prince rehearsed them a lot to make sure that they were perfect. Because not only did they have to perform their instruments, they had to dance. Well, some of them anyway. Some of them had to dance, especially Wendy and Lisa. What's interesting too is that this group, Prince actually had to assemble a group because Prince performed all the instruments on his other albums. But when it came time for live shows and music videos and when MTV was coming out, he needed a backing band. So, once he assembled this bunch, he had a match made in heaven. 1999 broke Prince into the spotlight tremendously, but also Prince changed his wardrobe completely. Gone was the bikini underwear and the trench coat, and in was this new purple look, with this new purple jacket, white lace, and just looking really stylish. So, on tour they would go. And pretty soon, Prince's music was actually getting much bigger outside of Minneapolis. However, it wouldn't be until 2 years later when Prince and the Revolution would find their biggest success. In fact, it would take the music world by storm, both auditory and visually. In 1984, Prince and the Revolution released an album that they would be associated with for many years to come. But the album wasn't enough. They also made a movie about this album. And this album, well, I think it's pretty easy to say what it is, because I gave a clue just a little bit ago. And so, when this album came out, a movie was made, and it brought the music to the big screen. Just imagine, you bought this new album, you took it out of the sleeve, this big, beautiful vinyl record. You placed it on your record player, put the needle down, cranked up the volume, and this is what you heard.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. And if the elevator tries to break you down, go crazy, punch a higher floor.
We now come here to a recording studio. That's right. You know, one of the things about Prince that made him so cool was the fact that he spent a lot of his time in the recording studios, similar to this one. However, he did it on his own property, which he titled Paisley Park. In fact, after the release of Purple Rain, the next album that he released, called Around the World in a Day, featured the song Paisley Park, which was very beautiful. And, as the song says, Paisley Park is in your heart. At this point in time, Prince was experiencing some big stardom. That was the thing. Everybody wanted a piece of him, in a good way. Even his band, The Revolution, was also getting recognized as well. People would come dressed to the nines, in the outfits that the Revolution would wear. And as you guys have seen, Dr. Fink had always worn the scrubs, while the others went with some of the fashion of the 80s. However, things kind of started taking a little turn. Because see, here's what happened. After the release of the album Around the World in a Day, the next album, called Parade, came out, which was essentially a soundtrack for Prince's next film, called Under the Cherry Moon. Now, this movie is kind of interesting because it features Prince. It features Jerome, who was one of the members of The Time, which was one of Prince's backing band. Prince's side projects that he created along with his buddy Morris Day, as well as members of the Revolution. Now, the film itself, well, let's just say this. Prince wrote, directed, and starred in his own film. But he decided to pay homage to the old black and white movies and release the film entirely in black and white. While pleasing to the eyes, the story and everything got kind of lost. And so that film didn't do so well. But the album that the movie came from, called Parade, featured such songs like Christopher Tracy's Parade, Another Lover, Hole in Your Head, and the one that also got the big airplay, Kiss. Yep, Kiss was huge. This gave Prince yet another chart-topping hit, and it also features a really cool music video, especially since he and Wendy Melvoin were in the music video for that song. As the 1980s, or the middle of the 1980s, continued forward, things were starting to change again, but this time around, band-wise. In 1986, a little bit after Parade was made, Prince himself decided it was time to disband the Revolution. That was because Prince's sound was about to go in a completely different manner. So, the Revolution was dissolved. Except for a few members. Dr. Fink and Bobby Z, the keyboardist and the drummer, stuck around for a little bit. However, after the next album, both of them would end up being booted. This time around, Prince switched his outfits. Gone was the purple leather and lace that we come to know and love, and in was this bright orange jumpsuit and a different hairstyle and even some glasses too. And he started using his music to kind of talk about the times, as in the sign of the times.
In France, a skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. By chance, his girlfriend came across a needle and soon she did the same. At home, there were 17-year-old boys and their idea of fun is being in a gang called the Disciples, high on crack, toting a machine gun.
Sign of the Times became a huge hit for Prince, but it also began kind of a little, how can I put this, a little bit of friction between himself and his record label. As many of you may know, Warner Brothers and Prince were together practically from the beginning. However, it was Warner Brothers that actually convinced Prince to take Sign of the Times and turn it into a double album rather than a triple album. Soon afterwards, Prince released the album Love Sexy, but then got tasked to do something pretty cool. In 1989, a little bit after he had, come off of his new tour, which basically was a very stripped down version of his Sign of the Times tour, minus the cars, the props, and everything like that, he was tasked to do the soundtrack for the 1989 movie Batman, starring Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Now, you want to know how fast the soundtrack actually came to be? Well, guess what? Prince actually locked himself away in Paisley Park, and he actually wrote a bunch of songs where a bunch of them ended up in the movie, but two of them sadly were left off. One song was called Dance with the Devil, that was supposed to be the theme for the Joker. Another one was called Sex. Sadly though, these two songs never made the album, but the bootleg copies can still be found online, thanks to, trading tapes and things like that. Oh, all right. You caught me trying to do the bass line for Party Man. It's definitely one of Prince's coolest songs off of the Batman soundtrack. Anyway, as the 90s came to a close, things were starting to change for Prince. In fact, one of the things that actually changed for him was the fact that now he had a brand spanking new band that he wanted to debut. So in 1991, Prince released Diamonds and Pearls under his new band, the New Power Generation. The New Power Generation featured a lot of new members. Gone were the members of Revolution, and in came some new ones, such as the recently late great Cat Glover, who was the dancer of the bunch, and a bunch of other musicians too. Diamonds and Pearls also saw a shift in Prince's Minneapolis sound, because now Prince was kind of going into the R&B style of things. He was also starting to use an unpronounceable symbol. That's right. Because of the direction that he was going in, Warner Brothers was getting a little bit scared and a little bit concerned that Prince was going in a direction that they didn't like. Now, they did enjoy success with the Love Symbol album, but here came the problem. Prince's shows were starting to get a little bit more on the raunchy side, and well, his lyrics were starting to get less radio friendly. Now, for video purposes, I can't really say some of these words, even though I know that my good friend VR Chat 101 Nardo said to just say the word. However, because of the way that Traveling Nardo is filmed, we're gonna kind of censor some of those words. Because you know what? I need to travel back a little bit. Prince was actually one of the first artists to get the parental advisory sticker. This little guy usually was down here at the bottom of the CD cover. And why was that, you may ask? Well, because if the album contained any form of very raunchy or, sexual lyrics of some sort, then they would put that on there. The song in question was actually on Purple Rain, called Darling Nikki. And I think the words went a little something like this. It went, "I knew a girl named Nikki, I guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby, with a magazine." That word, well, that censored word anyway, got Prince in a little bit of hot water. So that's why you'll often see those types of stickers on other albums, including things for Salt and Peppa and the 2 Live Crew, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Anyway, Prince continued to find a lot of success. And what was even cooler too was that as the 90s went on, Prince started to get more and more entrenched in the legal battles with Warner Brothers, and it got worse from there. Prince wanted out of his contract, and to show that Warner Brothers was treating him unfairly, he would sometimes perform in concerts with the word slave written on his face. Prince never really liked contracts, and Warner Brothers was trying really hard to get him back to being more radio friendly. But Prince didn't want to do that. He wanted to push the boundaries of music. And so, after 2 more releases, which were entitled The Gold Experience and Chaos and Disorder, Prince finally was released from his contract at Warner Brothers. So much so that he decided to make his own record label. He decided to call it NPG Records. And he titled the first album Another Word for Freedom. And it's even the first word of a special document that I think everybody should read. Do you know what that document might be? Yep, the Emancipation Proclamation. Or, as he called his album, Emancipation. You're actually hearing right now some of the title track. The cool part was that Prince finally got his wish. He could actually release a triple album. And what was even interesting too is that each of the CDs that were in there were exactly 14 minutes long, which was quite interesting. The album featured quite a few new songs, including one called Let's Have a Baby, which at the time, Prince, who had married his backup singer, Maite, which you'll see right here on the screen. Get out of the way, bass. Which you'll see on the screen right here, Maite Garcia. Prince married her on Valentine's Day, around the time that the album was being made, in 1997. But Prince also did something else, too. He decided to change his name to an unpronounceable symbol that you see over here. The symbol is a combination of the male and female signs, which led to the press and a lot of people calling him the artist formerly known as Prince. And even a little show called Muppets Tonight even had a little fun with his name. Now, if I can find the clips and everything, I will insert a few of them right here so you can see that that Prince made a special appearance on Muppets Tonight.
Bobo turns, he feints, he shoots. Oh, it was close, but he steals the ball back. He's got it again, and he shoots. Oh, so close.
What's up? You guest starring on the show tonight?
Oh, okay, excuse me. And he turns his shoot. Oh, boy, what a night. Now, what can I do for you?
I'm guest starring on the show tonight.
Uh-huh, and your name, sir?
This is gonna be fun. I'm the artist formerly known as Prince.
Ooh, and I'm the bear currently known as Not Amused. Now, your name again, please.
My name has no sound. It's unpronounceable.
Look, fella, this kind of monkey business might have kept you out of the draft, but you ain't gonna fool me. Now, how would your name appear on my list here?
Like this.
Oh, okay, Dr. Rorschach, I'll play along. I see my mother and a butterfly doing the mambo on an orange.
Just check the list, fool.
Pretty mouthy for a guy with no name. Okay, let's see, we got railroad crossing, that yin-yang sign, we got... Hey, will you... Boy, security in this place stinks.
Pretty neat, isn't it? And that episode still continues to be one of the most searched episodes of Muppets Tonight on the internet, too. Now, let's fast forward a little bit, because around the time the year 2000 showed up, Prince finally started going by his name Prince again. So, he dropped the symbol as the name, but he kept the symbol on his guitar and also on a lot of his other albums, too. Now, the 2000s were a little bit interesting for him because during the early parts of the 2000s, he kind of decided to just, kind of take a little back seat, if you will. However, he was secretly working on a new album, and in 2004, Prince would skyrocket onto the charts again. This time around, he'd make a brand new section which I wish colleges and schools and all sorts of places still taught today. Enter musicology. Musicology popped Prince back up to the very top of the charts. And, what was even cooler? Not only did it feature a lot of great songs on there, like, the title track, but now everybody was talking about what the Purple One was going to do. He went back to touring, and he started doing a lot of different things. As I've kind of mentioned, he was kind of a mysterious kind of guy. He let the music do the talking. But whenever Prince opened his mouth, everybody wanted to hear what he had to say. Probably one of the greatest comebacks that he ever had was in 2006. At the time, High School Musical was like the be-all, end-all. It was like everybody kept singing, we're all in this together, yada, 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 all these different things. And a lot of us were getting very annoyed at this. Thankfully, though, the Purple Yoda himself came out with a really cool album. In fact, not only did he come out with a pretty cool album, it skyrocketed to number 1. It bumped High School Musical off the top of the charts, rightfully so, and even won Album of the Year. Enter 3121.
DJ, turn it up, turn it up. Let's go. Ready, 121. Oh, don't you wanna come? Ready, 121. It's gonna be so much fun. Ready, 121. That's where the party be. Ready, 121. You can come if you want to, but you can never leave.
Oh. I didn't realize you guys came back so soon. Anyway, 3121 skyrocketed, and he even had a restaurant in Las Vegas where everything, right down to dessert, was priced at $31.21. He even had his own fragrance too, which was kind of short-lived. But if you're one of the lucky people who owns one of those perfume bottles, then you got yourself a cool collector's item. As the 2000s rolled on, Prince continued to be very high on the charts, and 2007 would be very important for him. That's because in 2006, it was announced that he'd become the Super Bowl halftime entertainment, and so he performed at the Super Bowl halftime show in 2007. It's still considered by many as the greatest Super Bowl halftime performance of all time. Take that, Black Eyed Peas. Now, if you want to see that performance, I'll have somebody at Travel HQ leave a link down below so you can go see that performance yourself, and you be the judge. Was it cool, or was it cool? As we fast forward a little bit, we now get into the 2010 era. This was kind of a strange era for Prince because he released some albums through Target, believe it or not. However, things were getting a little bit interesting for him because Prince then kind of went behind the scenes during the 2010s and 2012s, and it wouldn't be until the year 2013 and 2014 when he would go on to bring out yet another new look. Gone was the short hair kind of look and the slick back and looking really cool, and in came this brand new look, which basically was like a throwback to his early days. Bring in the album Artificial Cage, which when you say it really fast, it sounds like artificial age. Prince had also donned a pair of shades that had not one, not two, but three. That's right, 3 lenses. That was because that was a clue and a precursor to his newest band, Third Eye Girl. Third Eye Girl was a band that was made of, well, girls. And this was one of Prince's backing bands. This was actually his new project. But the interesting thing was this. It was just him and the 3 girls. So you had one drummer, a guitarist, a bass player, and then Prince. They released one album together called Plectrum Electrum. And there's a lot of different songs on there, but the ones that I will say are actually kind of interesting are the songs like Wow, Pretzel Body Logic, and my personal favorite, Fix Your Life Up. And Prince has a way with words too, so make sure you have a listen to that if you ever get the chance to. By this point, Third Eye Girl had kind of split off from Prince. And then we get to 2016. This was a very somber year for music, because here was the thing. Early in 2016, we had lost Mr. Starman himself, Ziggy Stardust, aka David Bowie. David Bowie had sadly lost the battle with terminal liver cancer. However, he's a story for another day. Prince decided to embark on another tour, but this one was going to be very stripped down. In fact, stripped down so much, there was no drummer, there was no guitarist, no bass player, and certainly no pyrotechnics. Instead, it would be just himself and his piano. He created the Piano and Microphone Tour, or Piano and a Microphone. It was very simple. He would come out on stage and play a custom-made piano and play different songs for the crowd. It was a very minimalist type show. However, things would start going wrong for him. In April of 2016, Prince had just finished up what would end up becoming his last show ever. And on one of the plane rides he took, the plane had to make an emergency landing. That was because Prince was going through a detox program, and every day he was looking a little bit more frail. And then, on April 21st, 2016, a phone call was made from Paisley Park. about an individual who was found dead in the elevator. All of us who were alive at the time or saw the news wondered who the heck that was. But then the realization kicked in. The one that they found in the elevator was Prince himself. He had passed away in the elevator from a fentanyl overdose. It was a really rough death to take in the music world, because Prince was the only guy I knew who could sell out a show in seconds. He used to make videos, very short videos, and he would basically put them out there and go, "See you later tonight, Baltimore." Or sometimes he would go, "Hey, Philadelphia, want to have some fun in 2 hours?" And then the tickets would go on sale and they'd be sold out. When word got out that Prince had passed away, the entire music world just stopped turning. Prince was a musical genius. He was an amazing guy. And whether you liked his music or you didn't, he figured out ways to make the music a lot more fun. And I'm a big fan of his myself. After his passing, a lot of things happened. His home, Paisley Park, got turned into a partial museum, which you can actually tour in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Sadly, we're not allowed to film there. And of course, there's no map for it, so that's why we're in this recording studio. His albums all came back to streaming services like Spotify, because he had made up with Warner Brothers, and every so many years, he and Warner Brothers were going to re-release some of his albums, newly remastered and restored. And, well, it's unclear what kind of plans Prince may have had for the future. But I gotta tell you something, folks. At the time of recording this, we're only 5 years removed from the tragic pandemic. If Prince were still around, I think he would have already made quite a few albums. Would have really helped us get through the pandemic. And he was a cool dude. He was a really cool dude. If you ever get a chance to listen to his music, please do. If you ever get to see any of his interviews, please do as well. But one thing that separates Prince from everybody was that he played his own instruments. He could play everything. He was a workaholic, but he could take a little song and turn it into something beautiful. Now, I know that this Traveling Nardo episode, we didn't really go visiting too many places and things like that. Sadly, we couldn't really find anything that best resembled or even matched anything that Prince had performed at or, wherever. We here at the Traveling Nardo and Electric Paradise Studios want to make sure that we 100% bring you as authentic facts, authentic places, and everything authentic that we can. That's why we weren't really visiting too much, because, well, there's really not too much going out there. Maybe this video might inspire some of you folks to make some maps that were like Prince's nightclub that he performed at, First Avenue, or Paisley Park for that matter. I mean, if somebody made a Paisley Park map, you wouldn't get this Nardo to leave. No siree. Prince's music will definitely live on. And there's still a lot of songs that are still getting released, especially in his posthumous time. How many songs were in Prince's vault? You never know. But you know what else, too? Something else happened as well. Do you remember the Revolution? Remember the members that I was telling you about? Well, guess what? A little bit after his death, all the original members of the Revolution reunited to do some tribute shows. This time around, Wendy and Brown Mark would take over the lead vocals. But you know what was even cooler too? Everybody still sounded just like the records, and everybody still looked and sounded cool. In fact, who knows? Maybe you might get to see the Revolution come to your town. Of course, you know, minus Prince, but still. Prince's original backing band, The Revolution, can still rock the party and rock the house. which is pretty cool. I hope this special episode of the Traveling Nardo was able to do Prince justice, because we're releasing this on the anniversary of his passing. This one was a very difficult one for me to make because, despite the fact he died back in 2016, which was 9 years ago at the time of filming, he lives in my heart. Because you know what they say, Paisley Park is in your heart. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Traveling Nardo. If you guys want to see more of these, make sure you hit the like button, don't forget to comment, and also subscribe. But for now, let's play a little something, shall we? Let's do a little something kind of nice. Let's see. I think I know how to play this. Just make sure this one's right. Turn that knob. Okay. Alright. Anyway, folks, I'll see you all next time. Until then, take care. But for now, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4.
I never meant to call you in your sorrow. I never meant to call you in your pain. I'm the one who wants to have you laughing. I only want to see you laughing in the purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Only want to see you bathing in the purple rain. I never wanted to be your weekend lover. All I want to be some kind of friend. Hey. Baby, I could never steal you from another. It's such a shame our friendship had to end.
Rave Un2, fantastic, Prince. We love you.